Identifying good and bad points of an equine facility. Good would be there's clean paddocks they're poop scooped regularly. There's the fencing isn't bad. It looks really nice and is able to keep horses in. A bad points of an equine facility: the fences are loose, paddocks haven't been poop scooped for months, there's uneven sand patches or dirt patches in the paddock which can cause the horses injury, and there's rabbit holes or something in the paddock. That's also a bad point. What I consider unsafe and dangerous areas are probably like areas where there's loose wire on the ground, or holes where the horses can break the legs, or where a tree looks like it's going to fall down. That could be a dangerous area. Unsafe, maybe an area close to the road that's busy where a horse could freak. Even if it's a good horse, one day it might freak and run out to the road and get hit by a truck. A plan if there's a fire. Usually, if you're at a stable, it should have a fire and emergency plan. There should be a muster point on the property somewhere where it's safe when everyone has to go, so they can do a head check at that muster point. So if there's a fire, everyone knows to go to the muster point, and then they do like a head check to see if everyone's there. And if everyone's not, then they know someone's still left in the fire, and they can tell the fire is, and then they can try and find them. And then in emergency, if you need police or ambos or fireys, call 000 straight away. And then make sure everyone's together, calm about the situation, because if someone starts losing their brain, then everything would just go downhill and everyone would just start freaking out about everything. Existing measures at the property I'm at that separate pedestrians, spectators and vehicles. Vehicles park out the front, and then you have to walk through the side gate and then get your horses and stuff. Spectators usually sit on the patio and they can watch from where the arena is, and pedestrians are outside because pedestrians can't just come into the property, they have to come through a gate. And yeah. Improvement of traffic, having separate areas where horses go, having separate areas where pedestrians and spectators go, and having separate driveway for vehicles and parking away from the horses and away from where the pedestrians walk. Fencing. Your fencing should be strained really nicely. It can't be loose because the horse can get its leg stuck in it and rip the whole fencing out or rip its leg apart. Barbed wire isn't as good as a wooden fence for horses, because the horses can rip its sides out and rip anything on it apart with barbed wire. And wood fencing, a horse can see and is less likely to run up against it and hurt themselves. Also with wood, you have to make sure there's no splinters, otherwise a horse can hurt himself that way. Stabling, your stables have to be clean. Clean them every morning and afternoon if your horse is stabled 24/7, or every morning after you put your horse from the stable to a paddock. And yeah, clean it really well and just clean the sand if it's sand, and then clean it if it's wood chips. Wash bays should have non-slippery padding on the ground. Usually use rubber and a secure tie-up so your horse doesn't run away. Also, the wash bay should be safe, and make sure that electricity doesn't touch the water, otherwise you can electrocute your horse or you. Tie-up areas, usually you just have 2 wooden poles and a wooden crossbar and a piece of baling twine attached to it, so if your horse decides to pull back, it doesn't break its neck, it breaks the baling twine. Positioning of gates, usually you don't put them in a corner, you put them centre-ish of the paddock, so you don't have to turn your horse's bum onto the fence or have to, it's just hard to manoeuvre a horse from a corner gate. In the middle it's easier because you can just navigate everything better. Everything I've said good stuff and bad stuff about everything, so there's not much really else to say. Just make sure your fencing is good and your horse won't be able to hurt itself on it. Preferably no barbed wire. Make sure it's drained regularly if it's wire. Stabling, make sure your stables are kept clean, otherwise that can be bad for your horse's health. Wash bays, make sure they're hygienic and no electricity gets to them and they're non-slip. Tie-up areas, make sure you have baling twine so your horse doesn't break its neck. Positioning of gates, make sure it's economical for you. You can have it in the corner if you want, but in the middle of the paddock it's easier because you don't need to manoeuvre and so hope you guys like it. Thank you. Bye.